and I got together for our yearly family reunion. It's been a tradition that we would meet at my cabin in Pennsylvania, but for the last couple of years, we've noticed that my oldest sister, Pat, has been becoming more and more forgetful. And when she would drive north from her home in Delaware, instead of heading west on the turnpike, she would often head east. So we decided to meet down at her place in Ocean View, Delaware. It was a wonderful time being together with the family and having some hard conversations about her well-being and her future. We human beings are kind of eccentric in many ways, are we not? I mean, we have this unusual tendency for celebrating milestones throughout our lives. Family reunions, birthdays, baby dedications, weddings, anniversaries, retirement parties. Somewhere deep in the psychic of us human beings is that need to celebrate the important moments in life. Other living creatures don't seem to have that hang-up. My golden doodle, Lewis, doesn't get all bent out of shape if we forget his birthday. Your houseplants may have an aversion to dying, but your neighbor's plants will not feel a need to attend a wake. Rites of passage seem to matter to us human beings. They are really important to us human beings. Forget an anniversary or a birthday and see how much they matter to your spouse or your loved one. Now, if I were to ask you what happens at most of those events like birthdays and weddings or anniversaries, what components are necessary in order to mark that event, you probably would agree with me there are at least three necessary things. The first being community. Solo celebrations don't really cut it, do they? The gathering of family, friends, and neighbors to share in this milestone is a very important part of that event. A second component will be that of reflection, a conversation about the significance of what we are celebrating, what we are recognizing, what we have gone through. Perhaps somebody gets up and says a few words or offers a toast or maybe a prayer for the purpose of reflecting. A third component would probably be celebration, a festive reaction to that achievement, that milestone that we are remembering. Quite often there are gifts and decorations and food and pictures and music to make that celebration more wonderful. I bring this all up because of what I want us to think about this morning. One of the two most important passages in the life of any Christian. One is that single initiatory rite of baptism. The other is that ongoing, regularly celebrated rite that we are going to be sharing in a few moments. And that is the Lord's Supper. Communion. Probably most of us, if not all of us sitting here listening to me, are familiar with this sacrament. Yet it is important that we sharpen our understanding about this sacred sacrament. It's one of the reasons I sat in to come join us classes, as Shirley Dobry was leading us on the thought of communions. Look around you this morning and notice that communion is a community event. Meaning that we come together as the family of God to participate in it. And what is so neat about October 7th today is, as you've heard, it's World Communion Sunday, meaning that believers around the world have been, are, and will be gathering around the Lord's table. Communion involves a time time of reflection. If you look in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 28, the Apostle Paul wrote, "A man should examine himself before he eats of the bread and drinks of the cup." There needs to be that reflection on what we are partaking in, what our lives are like, where are we in relationship to our God. Communion also involves a time of celebration. We celebrate the grace of God. We celebrate the love of Christ, God's Son, who gave his life for us on the cross. We celebrate the blessing and joy of knowing that our sins are forgiven, that our shame and guilt has been removed, and that we have this unending fellowship with our Creator. Communion is a very significant sacrament. In our text that Eric read for us from Luke 22, when Jesus and his disciples are sitting around celebrating the Passover, we are told that Jesus took bread, gave thanks, broke it, gave it to them, and said, "Do this in remembrance of me." And then he took the cup and declared that it was the new covenant, that they needed to do this sacrament again and again and again after he was gone. And I can imagine at that moment, maybe some of the disciples were saying to themselves, "How could we ever forget you? This is not a necessary exercise that you're going to have us do. We will never forget you." Jesus knew them better than they knew themselves. And Jesus knows you better than you know yourself. Jesus knows the human tendency to forget. Jesus knows the human tendency to allow the pace of life, the challenges of life, the heartbreaks of life, to slowly fade out our recollection of the importance of what Christ did for us on Calvary's cross. Jesus knows that our memories fade. Our spiritual confidence fades. Our worship fades. Our boldness fades. And our wonder at the love of Christ can fade. Along the way, our hearts can grow cold. Our soul can dry up. And before you know it, we're living beneath our privilege. Before you know it, we're not acting like children of God. Before you know it, we are all fuzzy about what is important in life and what is not, what is true and what is air, what is eternal and what is temporal. Before you know it, we forget that we matter to God. And oftentimes it can be traced back to a memory problem. Do this in remembrance of me. In 1 Corinthians 11, Paul wrote, quoting Jesus, "This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me. This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it in remembrance of me." Memories can be powerful things. This ability to remember comes from our Creator God, who remembers everything. God remembers everything. Everything except what you and I ask him to forgive. The Bible says he remembers it no more. In the sacrament of communion, Jesus is saying, don't forget. Don't forget who I am. Don't forget what I have taught you. Don't forget that I love you and that I offer you eternal life. And don't forget that I am coming back. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes.